Hello, hello, everyone. Beautiful people, sensitive people, loving people. It is Whimsy, and today we're going to have some interesting conversations about the meditation I did last night. For those people tuning in for the first time, this is a channel where we share what we experience during the meditative state. And then we also do tarot card readings. So today, the first thing I want to talk about is Khashoggi. He was the writer, he was the reporter for the Washington Post who was assassinated in Turkey. And people have asked me in the past if I could tune into Khashoggi. I tuned into Khashoggi's energy during a meditation a couple of weeks ago. There was a lot that was said about it energetically, and so I just want to make sure that I get everything correct. For those people who are experts or know something about Middle Eastern culture, I would appreciate it if they could share what they know here on the channel, because I'm just interpreting the energy as somebody going in and taking a look at the energy and not necessarily hearing everything word for word. So if I get things wrong, I apologize. But when I focused on Khashoggi and why Khashoggi was murdered, the takeaway I got from it had a lot to do with cultural conflicts and cultural ideas that are somewhat foreign to me, I'll be honest with you. But basically, the person who ordered the killing of Khashoggi, it had to do with honor and respect and appropriate behavior. And so basically what happened was that Khashoggi was perceived of as a Saudi Arabian person, a person from Saudi, who was living in a foreign land representing the Saudi Arabians abroad. That was culturally what I picked up. So if I send you from my kingdom as a representative of the kingdom, and any Saudi Arabian, any person from Saudi who goes to live outside the kingdom is representing the kingdom, whether they like it or not, and that person engages in behavior or actions which are shameful, they shame the kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And so it's an embarrassment for the Saudi Arabian people, and it's an embarrassment for Saudi Arabia. And so from a cultural perspective, Khashoggi was seen as somebody that shamed Saudi Arabia. He shamed the Saudi Arabians by being a guest in someone else's house and behaving badly. That is how it was perceived. So if I send a representative to go to the king and he's staying in the king's kingdom, he's living in the kingdom, and while he's there, he speaks badly about me and my country or my kingdom, that would be a source of shame for me and my kingdom. The other thing that would be almost even worse than that would be if I sent a representative from my kingdom and while he was staying at the guest king's house, he spoke bad about the king. This would be considered, from my understanding of the energy I was in, extremely rude culturally. So if I am a guest in the king's house and I am living with, I'm enjoying all the benefits of the king's home, and I start speaking ill of the king, this is not only embarrassing, it's incredibly rude and disrespectful. And so what Khashoggi did is he came as a member of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to the United States. He stayed in Trump's country. Trump is now the leader of this country, whether we like it or not. And so from the Saudi perspective, he spoke ill of Trump and embarrassed the Saudis and showed tremendous disrespect to someone who is the leader of this country. And so for those reasons, he was assassinated. So that is not necessarily the only aspect of this killing, but I was able to see the cultural context. You do not go and stay in someone else's house and then start trashing them to the neighbors or speaking badly about them to everyone else. That would be the equivalent. Staying in someone's home, being a guest in their home, and then hanging out with the neighbors talking about what a horrible person the host is. So that is the thing that I took away from the meditation on how Saudi Arabia viewed the killing of Khashoggi. He badmouthed Saudi Arabia, he badmouthed Trump, and he did it while a guest of the Americans while staying there. So the cultural context was what I took away from it. When Khashoggi was put to death in the Saudi Arabian consulate in Turkey, they cut his fingers off, and he was a journalist. So this looks to me like perhaps a suppression of journalism, the First Amendment, don't speak ill of the king, don't speak ill of Donald Trump. If a writer writes something that is disrespectful to Saudi or Trump, his fingers will be cut off. And this is a message to other journalists that we will find you and we will deal harshly with you if you engage in this kind of behavior. And so this kind of goes back to a view of justice, that if you speak ill, we will cut out your tongue. If you write something badly, we will cut off your fingers. So again, feel free to give your opinion, because excuse me, because this is just my observations while I'm in the meditative state. Now I want to talk a little bit about Donald Trump. He was the main meditation I experienced last night, was focusing on Trump and some stuff that's about to leak or come out about Donald Trump. So I wanted to make sure to cover that today. And basically the takeaway I got from last night's meditation is that the big secret that Donald Trump has been trying to keep from the American people, and I assume it's about to break, which is why I was able to pick up the information about it, is that Donald Trump is completely broke. So to understand the Trump organization and the fact that they had spoken to Alan Weisselberg, I believe his name is, the accountant, and what was so significant there is that Donald Trump is broke, and what he was doing in order to cover up the fact that he was broke was he was taking money from one area and pouring it into debt investments. So say, for example, nobody is going into the golf course in Scotland and it's basically a bankrupted property. But in order to prop up the image of being a successful billionaire, he has to keep pouring money into all these failing businesses so that it looks like he has successful businesses all around the world. And that gets to be really, really expensive, because he's got to pay to keep the lights on for all these businesses, and he has to pay to keep these people employed, the waiters, the staff, the cleanup crew. All those people want to get paid. He's complaining about the fact that he's paying people to stand around. They're standing around because he's not getting enough guests in those properties to cover the basic cost. So what happened was that he began to launder money, and then the laundered money was used to keep those properties, like the property in Scotland, open. And they really don't make money. The source of his money is the laundering of money. That was the first thing I saw. And then he was also involved in actually when laundered money didn't even come up with enough money to keep all these properties open, he then moved on to massive debt, taking out debt. So it started off with laundering money and then starting businesses that weren't making any money. And he was laundering money and taking the laundered money so that he could pay his workers. It's really embarrassing. And so Weisselberg was looking at the properties. He was being the accountant and seeing quite obviously that none of these properties were making much money, and some of them were belly up. But Trump couldn't close them because of this pathology in Trump, where he wants his name on everything, and he wants to be important, and he wants the whole world to know his name and to know how big and important he is. So they laundered money, and then they took the money to pay the bills for the property in Scotland, New Jersey, etc., failing businesses in Las Vegas. taking as much money as they can from various different illegal activities to just keep the doors open. Really a nightmare. So that was what I think Weisselberg was trying to tell me when I did the meditation on him. So in addition to laundering money to make sure everybody got paid and the doors could stay open, he was also taking these loans. Now, from an energetic perspective, everybody does remote viewing. Everybody experiences the meditative state differently. But for me, when I look at money or the movement of money, my brain or my mind sees it as points of lights that are moving. It's just points of lights that are moving. So if you're seeing money like that as well, the movement of energy, because money is just energy, you then want to follow the energy. Well, where is that light going? Where's that light going? So that is what I tried to do last night, is to try and, I saw all the lights or the money moving in the Trump organization, then I just want to follow them. Like, if I stand back energetically and I just look at the lights moving, where does it take me? So we have the laundered money, which is being taken to prop up all these businesses, which can't pay the rent, can't keep the lights on. And as I followed the money, it took me to South America. It took me to South America and offshore money laundering schemes and loans. So, and that money was siphoned off of legitimate money streams that were coming out of foreign governments. So if you have a foreign government like Russia and they've got legitimate business in a particular country in South America, they will siphon off some of the money from the legitimate money streams and then use that to bribe or to prop up people of interest. And that's part of the dark money. So that's the whole story. That, as I understand it, when I looked at it, was that the whole entire thing is, the whole Trump organization is a mirage, basically. It's a mirage. The whole thing is just, it's not real. None of these properties are making any money. You know, none of the casinos or anything. They're barely scraping by, or he's having to spend millions of dollars to keep the doors open through questionable means. And the best way to describe it is that he's the con artist at one of those old circuses from the Victorian era who barks and barks and tries to get you in on the con. I mean, it really energetically looked no different than a con artist. The whole entire thing's a con. It's a massive con. It's a massive scam that got out of control, and it comes from a very deep wound of, you know, I am big. I want to write my name all over everything. I am big. I am important. Everybody thinks I'm special. And when you focus on that wound, when you go into the wound, I am somebody, I am important, I am big, I'm going to put my name on everything, I'm going to build a wall, and after I leave for years, everybody will know this is my wall, and I built this wall, and I am somebody, and I am important. So the primal wound is, I am nobody. I am nothing. I'm nothing. I'm nobody. So if you go back to childhood trauma, and that seems to be where we keep going to, as an empath, as a person who's doing a heart-centered meditation at night, I don't see the adult male putting children in cages. I go to the primal wound and I just see a 3 or a 4-year-old child who is nothing and nobody. And what sick adult would treat a child like that, or make a defenseless 3 or 4-year-old little boy feel that he is small and he is nobody, and then have to spend the rest of his life terrified that the world is going to find out that he is nothing and nobody. So that's the primal wound. That's the whole story. It's about to come crashing down. He's a con artist. And, you know, the empathetic side of me that has compassion is that if children were born knowing that they were loved and that love is a birthright and that they have a right to be safe, would we produce people like this? Perhaps there's a genetic component to psychopathy. I'm willing to acknowledge that. But there's also usually trauma with narcissism and sociopathy. And unfortunately, in this case, the trauma beget trauma. And it goes back to that modern Buddhist idea of fire burns everything. So if you are nothing and nobody, and you are angry because you are nothing and nobody, everything you touch will die, and everything you touch will ultimately resonate with that trauma. So children wind up in cages being treated like they're nothing and nobody, because these are children that are nothing and nobody in the mind of somebody who believes that they are nothing and nobody. And why in the end did Mitch McConnell break away from this president? Because he was treated like he is nothing and nobody. And Mitch McConnell put up with being beaten like an abused dog for only so long, and then he snapped out of it and realized that the president was unfit to serve. So that is the whole story, and I should have told everybody to sit down and make yourself a cup of tea before you hear today's remote, because the truth is about to come out, and that needed to come out soon, because yeah, all the pieces are coming together. But to see it from a higher perspective as a spiritual person who's trying to break the cycle of abuse so that so that we can stop creating cultures where anyone is oppressed, where anyone is a victim, where anyone winds up in a cage, that every child is loved and wanted. The only way we can break that cycle is by finding the original trauma and calling it out and, dealing with it. That's why I have compassion. I'm somebody who would want to remove him from office, put him in a very nice facility, and then, feed him a 100% organic, plant-based vegan meal, and he would live a long, long life of eating steamed broccoli and brown rice and tofu and all those good, yummy things. No more McDonald's hamburgers, right? So that is my takeaway from all of it as the person who did the meditation. We're just going to go ahead and do a shuffle on what's going to happen in Washington, D.C. in the next couple weeks. Yeah, so could you imagine Donald Trump living another 50 years in a controlled facility? Well, we'll say 20 years in a controlled facility where he's put on a lean, plant-based. Would he enjoy that? I don't know. No more McDonald's. No, Dr. Whimsy's going to be your new doctor, and she's put you on a heart-healthy diet. Good for brain health, good for heart health. It's going to be plant-based, low-fat, and we're going to make sure you exercise. That is Whimsy's punishment. You're a loved child, but you don't get to do everything you like. All right, what's going to be in D.C.? What is going to be with DC in the next couple of weeks? That is what we are throwing on. I'm very excited because I have no idea what we're going to find. All right, let's take a look. Nice cup cards have been coming in. I really like the fact that I've been getting a lot of cup cards lately. Healing regarding issues of trade. Remember how this was the thing that came up last time? Trade, loss of trade routes. Healing, problems with trade, new growth coming in, new contracts. This is good. New growth, new contract coming to DC. Concerns about our savings, concerns about our budget, what's below us, new beginnings, what's behind us, the past is dead, what we're going into, walking away from things that do not serve us. There's a lot of loss of money here. And this could also be our savings, our personal budget. Lack of a home and foundation, trickster, a trickster, magician inverted, hopes and fears, the work not getting done, final outcome, romance is lost. I would say that it looks like Trump will be increasingly isolated. And things are going to go forward in D.C., but I don't know if Trump will necessarily be coming along for the ride. Yeah, that relationship is over. So how I would interpret the cards is that things are going to get more stable in D.C. It's kind of what I had said before. People are going to start working together, but the relationship between Washington, D.C. and this president is over, showing increasing isolation and being called out by both members, by both parties. All right, thanks for watching, everybody. And I didn't throw on the Super Bowl because I just honestly don't know. I think, the Patriots probably have, when I tuned into the Patriots' energy, they were very strong. And I just felt like the Rams were vulnerable, and there may also be some injuries on the side of the Rams. It would be great if the Rams won, but the Patriots look really strong. Okay, thanks for watching, everyone. Bye.